Welcome back to r/NeighborsFromHell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbor stole my service dog and broke into my apartment to steal my jewelry." For the past 5 years I have lived in the middle of New York City with my dog Buddy. I have suffered from severe medical issues my entire life, but in some ways I have learned to live with my body. Because of the severity of my disease, which I don't really want to get into any further here, and the things that I have to deal with, about 5 years ago I decided to invest in a service dog, and it has been wonderful. Buddy, my service dog, has quite literally been my rock, and there are some days that I really don't know what I would do without him. Not only does he alert me in certain situations, like when my blood pressure is too low, but he is able to retrieve items for me and has been a huge help when it comes to emotional support. About 4 months ago though, Buddy was stolen from me by one of my neighbors, someone who I thought was my friend. Before Buddy was stolen from me, I was about to have a procedure that would leave me in the hospital for a week. Technically, I was allowed to have Buddy with me during these times, but I wanted to be fair to him and did not want to keep him cooped up in a hospital room with people coming in and out all hours of the day and night. Because of this, I decided it was best to keep him home and pay my neighbor to walk and feed him daily. We agreed on a pay of $25 a day, and all she had to do was feed him and take him for a 15 to 20 minute walk every day. Due to my own concerns about the streets of New York City, she was only supposed to walk Buddy on our block. I was so excited to finally see Buddy when I returned home from the hospital, better than I was expecting. However, I was still tired and had some mild pain and could not wait to just be cuddled up on my couch with my little Buddy. He always made me feel better, and I could have really used his presence when I got out of the hospital. However, when I arrived at my home, I was shocked to see that Buddy was not running to the door to meet me. As a matter of fact, there was no trace of Buddy even in my house. I had looked around my apartment to see if he was hiding somewhere, but I was surprised to see that his dog bed and his dog food container and bowl was missing. I thought that my neighbor had him at her house for some reason, so I went to investigate. However, upon me knocking on the door, it seemed that I was being ignored. I saw her car in the driveway, so I knew that she was home. She was also a dog lover herself, as she already had 2 dogs. As much as I hated to think about it, I could not help but wonder if she stole Buddy. She always adored him, and the fact that his belongings were missing with him made me think that someone intentionally took him. The only person that had access to my apartment though was my neighbor, and even then she did not have a key. She had to be buzzed in by the front desk receptionist, so it is not like she could have just helped herself to my apartment whenever she pleased. Even though I had little evidence, I decided to call the police. I had checked the local animal shelters and missing pets page. Buddy was also microchipped, so it would be easier for me to locate him if he ran away and was turned in. I thought that the police could help me somehow, and although I explained the situation to them, they were not much of help. I explained that my neighbor was the only one with access to my apartment, and she was walking my dog daily while in the hospital. However, the police stated that while it was compelling information, it simply wasn't enough to press charges on her, and the most they could do was file a police report about the missing dog. This was of course extremely frustrating to me, as all I wanted was my dog back. I was even willing to drop the charges if she was willing to give me Buddy back. However, a few days after filing the police report, I discovered something that could help my case. Some of my precious diamond jewelry was missing, along with some other personal belongings, and all of Buddy's toys, leashes and service gear were missing as well. I thought that this must be some convincing evidence and decided to call the police back. although it did not prove that she took my beloved buddy, the police had launched an investigation into the missing jewelry. Shortly after that, they had begun working with the apartment complex to retrieve any video surveillance of my neighbor taking things or Buddy from my apartment. While they could not see her clearly taking Buddy, they had found suspicious footage of her entering my apartment after being bussed in and leaving with a giant bag, but not leaving with Buddy. My neighbor didn't have permission to enter my apartment for any other reason than to walk the dog, so this was a step in the right direction in getting my Buddy back. Over the next course of the next 4 months, I had several interviews and meetings with the police and the property management. And although I never saw my neighbor's face during this process, which made it even more obvious she was the culprit, I was shocked when I got a call one day that Buddy had been dropped off at a nearby animal shelter by a strange lady. I was happy to have my Buddy back. I nearly made myself sick and anxious just thinking about where my fur baby could be and if he were safe and being taken care of. And even though I had Buddy back in my arms, all snuggled up and safe, the investigation was not over yet. Police were able to conduct a thorough investigation and found that somehow the neighbor was made aware that the police were actively trying to obtain a search warrant to her apartment. They would obviously find my dog Buddy there, so she snuck away to give the dog to her friend, who would then take it to the animal shelter in the pretense that she found Buddy running around on the streets. However, with the footage from our apartment complex and being able to find Buddy at the animal shelter, the girl's friend caved and let the police know everything. While she didn't know that my neighbor had stolen valuable items from my home, she confessed that she knew that she stole Buddy and had her all this time. This in turn led to my neighbor confessing to stealing Buddy, and she ended up receiving multiple charges due to her irresponsible actions. I ended up winning the case in court, and my neighbor was charged with grand larceny for stealing Buddy and my personal belongings, but she was also charged with a felony. Besides this, she also ended up having to pay a $550 fine. I honestly didn't care about the fine, I was just happy to have my Buddy back and that she was facing consequences for her actions. Due to this, I've been more careful with my dog and he is never out of my sight. I've been so tired of dealing with all this for the past 4 months, but I am over the moon that Buddy was returned to me safe and sound. And ripe stars, honestly, stealing a service dog, or really any pet in general, is one of the lowest lows you can go to. It really makes me wonder that maybe the neighbor had some kind of mental issues, because I really also don't see the benefit behind stealing this dog. Anyway, if you have watched until here and enjoy my content, then I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and maybe post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support the channel. Thank you so much in advance for your amazing support, it is very much appreciated. The next one is titled Wrong Number. Many years ago I started a job, and in my department was a young lady who was a loudmouthed, rude, crude, bad-tempered and nasty Karen. She was really just a Karen. I'm sure some of you have come across one of these people in your life. Anyway, back then there was no caller ID on the phones like today. I decided one day after hearing her yell again at someone to pick up the phone and call her. She sat on the other side of the office, but I could hear her and see her pick up the phone. When she picked up the phone, I quietly just hung up. I would turn the volume down on my speakerphone and have the mute button on while I dialed. When I would hang up, it was just a matter of me silently clicking it off. When this would happen, I could hear her yell, "Damn it," over and over again. Damn it. I would do this like 3 or 4 times a day. Sometimes I would get up and go to the fax machine and dial her from there to deflect any suspicion. Damn it, I would hear. I would suffer in silence as I tried and succeeded in suppressing my laughter. One day I saw the only friend I had in the office get into a fight with her. "I just hate that Karen," he told me. I decided to let him in my mini world of revenge. He started to do it as well. She would scream, "Damn it, who's doing that?" and look around the room. My buddy and I just kept working, and she couldn't figure out who her wrong number phone stalker in the room was. He would do the fax trick as well. When I finally quit my job, I would call her like once a week and prank her 3 or 4 times in a row. My friend would call me and say, "Dude, was that you? She is so pissed, she's going crazy," and proceeded to tell me that she was screaming all over the place like a crazy woman and that management had been called on her various times. Of course, we would laugh about it. A couple of years later, I get called into an office meeting and a supervisor asks me if I know a person from my previous job who was applying for a job at my current company. It was her and she was in the other room. I go to meet her and there she was, a broken woman. She was somehow different. I told her if she wants a job here, she cannot do the same stuff that she pulled off in the other place, and if she ever does, I have the power to fire her. She proceeds to tell me that she had realized that she had been overbearing and that she had a real talk down by her former boss and that she had learned to control her anger. So believe it or not, I gave the go-ahead and gave her the job, and yes, she did change. People loved her at the new job and she was a productive and good employee. And wow, ripe stars, that is definitely an ending I did not anticipate. Definitely huge props and respect to the OP for doing that. If I was in his position, I'm not sure if I could have done the same, honestly. The next one is titled 2 for 1. So, a few weeks back I sort of got a 2-for-1 deal on revenge, but to explain how, I need to give a little backstory. The first one is about an a-hole I met in college, a-hole classmate. He was in my major, he was the laziest dude ever. Our department was lacking students, so they allowed him into the program to avoid budget cuts. Anyone unfortunate enough to get stuck with a-hole classmate on a group project was pretty much doomed to do the whole project themselves. It was a project built for a group of people to complete in a month. Being in his group was an automatic C. He never did work and in my case managed to lose all of our work after taking it home to copy it. Despite contributing literally nothing, he felt entitled to put his name on the project and display it in his portfolio. If he was not allowed to get his way, we stopped letting him sign his name on our projects. He failed senior and junior year, he badmouthed you and threatened to call all of your future employers. My senior year at that school, I got a job in my field. It was honestly just a crappy job that was marginally better than the unpaid externships we are expected to do. I had a crappy boss, a-hole boss. He had me do all the dumb office stuff like make him coffee and complain that I was bad at it. I don't even drink coffee. He was the typical spoiled brat son inheriting a company from his dad. He was fond of reminding me that if he knew how to use the software and the tools I did, he could also do my job and that he was learning how so that he could get rid of my position. And now on to the revenge. I am out of school and I got a much better job offer, so I politely told him to bugger off. Of course I got fired for insubordination, but I get that sweet unemployment pay until my next job kicks in. He fired me at an inconvenient time for his company. Their biggest company is expecting prototypes from us, 4 of them, no one knows how to do them aside from me. Their customer will be there in 3 weeks, and in a panic, nice supervisor asks if I know anyone that can do the job. I check Facebook and a-hole classmate is still unemployed. I tell him to apply. He thanks me profusely, nice supervisor thanks me profusely as well. A-hole classmate goes to the interview with a-hole boss, proceeds to badmouth me, claims he carried me the whole way in college. I check his online portfolio and my projects are on there with my watermark still on them. A-hole boss hires him. Their customer comes in 1 week from today, nothing has been done. A-hole classmate calls in sick too much, nice supervisor calls me to tell me that she is quitting because a-hole boss is taking out his anger on everyone. A-hole classmate complains that no one appreciates him. That customer has been waiting for that prototype for 3 months. He is over 70% of their current business and he is not happy with them. They will possibly go out of business because of this. Also, I got my friend who is an attorney to send a-hole classmate a cease and desist letter to make my work off of his portfolio. I posted that letter as well as screenshots of him stealing my work on our field's professional network. Good luck getting a job now. And the next one is titled, "Did not intend to profit off of a scammer, but my hands were tied." Years ago, I was quite involved in an active online community of analog audio hobbyists. People would occasionally put hardware and music up for sale on the message board we used. I had been looking for a specific piece of hardware for several years to no avail. It was extremely rare and had never been sold in the United States, so any examples would have been imported from Japan. One of these machines popped up for sale from someone in the community and I jumped on it. The guy offering it was not new but was not terribly active. Somehow he had obtained pictures that were not on the net and or not easily searchable and ginned up a fake Japanese bill of sale. In hindsight, he may have seen one for sale and stolen the images from that. Regardless, it all seemed legitimate enough to induce me to go through with the transaction. So PayPal sent and he says it will ship in about a week. And then the excuses began. From he's been busy to out of town to his assistant shipping it but didn't send the tracking number to providing a fake tracking number. Then he just quit responding to calls or emails, and it turned out the number he had given me was a forwarding service that he subsequently disconnected. He also disappeared from the forum. He had, however, used his real name and a real PayPal account. I filed a PayPal claim and of course they denied the claim on some technicality. I'm sure he was counting on this occurring. This is where the revenge begins with an unintended bonus. All I wanted was to make sure the guy knew that I would find him and get to him. I had called the police and reported matters, but they couldn't have given less of a damn. I decided to find him myself and found an old wedding announcement that had been posted on the internet. I searched his wife's name and found mention of her being out on leave to give birth to their first child on her work website. Bingo! I had a small gift sent to her workplace with my name on it and called her work to say that I'm an old friend and don't have their contact info, but wanted to wish them congratulations on the new child and that I would come see them soon. I had visions of his wife saying how nice it is that someone sent a gift to her work, etc. and asking who I was. This apparently spooked him because a cashier's check showed up for the full amount. Now that we hadn't counted on and I didn't tell him was that I had filed a chargeback with American Express after PayPal denied the claim. My conundrum was this: the Amex investigation was ongoing and I had no idea if they would overturn the chargeback or not. I also had no idea if the cashier's check was legit. I've heard of counterfeit checks being returned up to 45 days later. So I truly didn't intend to profit off this, but I did. The Amex chargeback was resolved in my favor, which PayPal clawed back from his account shortly after the check was proven good. The kicker is though, the guy had the gall to email and threaten to try to have me charged with fraud for the chargeback when he had already sent the check. I simply responded and said, "Hey, great to finally hear from you. Glad you're doing well. How's the baby?" Listen, I'm sure there's been just a mix-up and I'll be happy to pay everything just as soon as I get the machine. I'm sure you understand why I want to receive it before I pay at this point. Of course, if you want to call the police, you are welcome to explain to them how you attempted first to defraud me by selling something you've never possessed in the first place. Your call. Never heard another word. I just hope his kid didn't have to go without diapers. And ripe stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support and I hope to see you again tomorrow.